Hello, everybody. Welcome back to an episode of Black Ops character analysis. Yeah, keeping the tradition of it being on Sundays. Trying to stick to that. You see, I'm trying. So, today is our last campaign character analysis. So after today, um, there's no more Black Ops 1 campaign people. We're going to be doing all Black Ops 1, well, not all, but for the most part, the main Black Ops 1 zombies characters for character analysis. So we're going to be doing that. Then after we do Black Ops 1 zombies, all those characters, we'll get into Black Ops 2, but I'll get into all that later. But today, we're going to be wrapping up the campaign characters that we had listed. So today is Lev Kravchenko. He's the second main villain in the Black Ops 1 campaign. So we're going to get into it. As always, get my info from the COD Wiki. Colonel Lev Kravchenko is a recurring antagonist in the Black Ops franchise. He was secondary antagonist in Call of Duty Black Ops 1, a minor antagonist in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and COD Cold War, which I'm not going to get into Cold War. I will get into his Black Ops 2 appearance, though. He does appear like one mission in Black Ops 2. We're going to be talking about that, but not really Cold War because it's just, I don't know, not really into it. So, and the secondary antagonist for the Dark Ether saga for the Cold War zombies, again, we're not going to get into that. So, he was Nikita Dragovich's second in command, and he was partly the reason why the SOG deployed in Vietnam. Kravchenko was later executed while being interrogated depending on the player's actions. His death comes at the hands of Frank Woods or Alex Mason. In the Dark Ether saga, he serves as the leader of the Specialized Task Group, known as the Omega Group, which again doesn't really matter here. In any other regime, Colonel Kravchenko would have been locked away if not executed. Often referred to as Dragovich's lapdog, Kravchenko was ruthless and cold-hearted sadist made of true brutality and aggression. Staying mostly silent, he's carried out his commander's orders without question. Much like Dragovich, Kravchenko detested Viktor Reznov. His reasons for, however, were much more mundane than those of Dragovich. Kravchenko took his lead wholly from his general. Kravchenko was a powerful figure of a man built for war, was ruthless and a cold-blooded military officer, and had to fulfill his bloodlust no matter the cost. He was so aggressive and impatient, but not vengeful. He did not see his next action, and therefore would be always a weapon of war, and not an orchestrator. Kravchenko released the suffering of others. It is one of the few things that could incite anything resembling a human feeling inside the man. He's more powerful than you know. He even has people in the CIA. Kravchenko's last words, if not killed by Mason, in the Black Ops 2 mission in Afghanistan. Now, we're going to be getting into kind of mainly his involvement in the campaign of the first two and kind of what he did. So, campaign. Kravchenko's actions during the course of World War II are largely unknown, but it can be assumed that he remained as General Dragovich's chief adjutant throughout the course of the conflict. This would imply that he was also present during the conflict of Stalingrad, at the same time as his mentor, hinting his possible involvement in the denying reinforcements to Viktor Reznov and his men during the battle at the Red Square. The hunt for Steiner. The hero of Berlin, graces us with his presence. Have you not tried to battle Reznov? Kravchenko teased Reznov. At the end of World War II, Dragovich was in charge of interrogating the German POWs for information about their war effort and those exploits that he learned from the chemical weapon known as Nova 6, the cargo ship transporting it and trapped inside the Arctic, seizing the opportunity to claim Nova 6 from the Soviet Union and advance their own power. Kravchenko and Dragovich led an operation to obtain the chemical weapon from the Nazi remnants with the assistance of Frederick Steiner, the creator of Nova 6, who willingly defected the Soviets. After the battle with the Nazis, Kravchenko moved slowly down the line of captured German soldiers, coldly executing them with all of his Tokarev pistol, until he realized the last one and his pistol ran out. Undaunted, he instead drew Private Yared's knife and brutally slit the last German's throat. Steiner led the Soviet soldiers into a trapped cargo ship containing the shipment of Nova 6 and the V-2 rockets, intended to unleash the chemicals into Washington, D.C. and Moscow. However, Dragovich desired to see the effects of Nova 6 firsthand and ordered his men to throw Reznov, Dmitri, and the rest of their squad into the sealed observation rooms. Kravchenko watched as they tested the gas, resulting in half of Reznov's men being brutally killed by the poison, including Dmitri. Before Kravchenko could see the collection of the Nova 6 samples, however, British commandos assaulted the vessel with the hopes of stealing the weapon for themselves. When a battle broke out between the commandos and Dragovich's men, Kravchenko fled the ship with Dragovich and Steiner. Reznov managed to escape his containment cell when fighting broke out and permitted to the inactive German explosives attached to the V-2 rockets. Despite the outcome of the battle, the V-2 rockets exploded and the ship sunk into the Arctic Ocean below, taking the Nova 6 shipment with it. However, Steiner was still in Soviet care and agreed to produce the new Nova 6 variants for Dragovich in the years to come. Reznov was tracked down and captured shortly after the shipment sunk, and Kravchenko saw to his imprisonment at Vorkuta for years to come. And we're going to get into Dragovich's plan and really how they're all involved in the campaign. So, Dragovich's plan. In the years to come from 1945 to 1960, Kravchenko climbed the ranks of the Soviet military and ultimately obtained the rank of colonel. He devotedly assisted the Dragovich in his plan to end the Cold War between the USSR and America by utilizing Nova 6 as their trump card, with Steiner having worked closely with the scientists to develop more efficient and modernized strands of the long-lost German chemical weapon. As part of their plan, Kravchenko oversaw the brainwashing of several sleeper agents who were taken to Vorkuta for this specific purpose. With Steiner's assistance, Kravchenko brainwashed various American citizens and soldiers with her programming inside their subconscious that allows Soviets to utilize their number stations to force their agents to carry out designated orders through broadcasted number frequencies, including Alex Mason. The majority of these agents were planted all over the United States with the intention to one day be given the order to deploy Nova 6 in major cities all over the country, neutralizing the command capabilities of America in one swift stroke and paving the way for a Soviet invasion force under Dragovich's command. And Kravchenko's involvement in Operation 40. Kravchenko was later present in Cuba in April 1961, accompanying General Dragovich when he secured an alliance with the Cuban Prime Minister Fidel Castro that permitted him to operate within Cuban borders. They specifically planned to use this alliance to construct an underwater base in the sea within Cuban borders, to broadcast the number frequency needed to trigger their sleeper agents in America to disperse Nova 6. When the alliance was easily secured, their stay became slightly complicated when the arrival of the CIA assassination team consisting of Alex Mason, Frank Woods, and Joseph Bowman that were backed by a local Cuban rebel group founded by the CIA. However, Dragovich had obtained the wind plot in advance to advise Castro to assign a body double to be in his place, which led Mason and Woods killing the double, mistaking the mission for a success. Ultimately, the rebels lost the ensuing battle and forced the CIA team to flee Cuba in a C-130. Due to a roadblock in the one-way, Mason jumped from a plane and took over the Cuban CPU-4 to destroy the vehicles blocking the plane, allowing it to take off safely. Finally making its first actual appearance in the game, Kravchenko abruptly pulled Mason from his seat on the ZPU and allowed a Cuban soldier to knock him unconscious. He proceeded to bring Mason before Dragovich and Castro, the former deciding to utilize Mason as one of their sleeper agents. Kravchenko then took Mason to Vorkuta, where he spent the next 2 years of his life. Although Steiner tried to brainwash Mason, the methods yielded no results, and refused to comply with their directives. Seeing no further use for him, Kravchenko and Dragovich left Mason to rot in Vorkuta as prisoner for the rest of his life. However, Mason came to meet Reznov on Vorkuta, and the two planned a massive prison break that ended in Reznov sacrificing himself so Mason can escape the prison and return to America to later track down and kill those who imprisoned him. And another pretty big Kravchenko moment is Baikonur. So, in Baikonur is in the USSR. That was the missile launch facility. Surrender now and you'll be allowed to live. Kravchenko ordering Mason and Woods to surrender. In November 1963, 1 month after the Vorkuta prison break, Dragovich and Kravchenko attended the launch of the first Soyuz rocket in Baikonur. The CIA ordered SOG to stop this and eliminate Dragovich. A CIA plant named Grigory Weaver had infiltrated the staff of the launch site with the instructions to sabotage the rocket, but this orders failed to be carried out, which Kravchenko discovered and captured him. He brought Weaver outside of the site and ordered Mason and his team to surrender them over the radio, claiming Weaver would be allowed to leave with them. When he received no response, Kravchenko proceeded to stab Weaver's left eye out with a knife and instructed his men to take him to the bunker for later interrogation and execution. However, Mason and his team managed to infiltrate the compound, rescue Weaver, and ultimately shoot down the Soyuz 2 rocket. Despite these victories for the CIA, alongside the successful elimination of the Ascension Group, Kravchenko and Dragovich managed to escape by helicopter before Mason, Woods, and Bowman, Weaver, and Brooks could get to them. Now, his involvement in Vietnam is pretty big too. 5 years later, in 1968, during the Vietnam War, Dragovich also joined forces with the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese Army in Vietnam. He instructed Kravchenko to oversee operations and conducted in the area, as well as field testing for the Nova 6 compounds, which he kept on audio recordings within his underground research site in the Viet Cong tunnel system. The SOG, led by Mason, Woods, and Bowman, tried to find Kravchenko when the CIA searched for Dragovich and Steiner. Despite their best efforts, however, they were eventually captured by Dragovich's men when investigating a crashed Soviet cargo plane while carrying a Nova 6 shipment. Kravchenko personally arrived with Dragovich to claim the SOG operatives, taking them to an underground Viet Cong prison camp where they were kept for just over a week. While Bowman died in their captivity, Woods, Mason staged a daring escape with the goal to track down and kill Kravchenko for revenge. Woods and Mason stole an M24 Hind and used the maps within the chopper to track down the compound Kravchenko was set up in. Kravchenko watched through the bulletproof observation window from his office while SOG units tore through his men, the bloodthirsty colonel urging them to come up and face him. Mason was the first to kick the door, but Kravchenko hit him to the floor with the chair and engaged Woods in a hand-to-hand fight, proving to be stronger than his opponent. Kravchenko threw Woods to the ground and prevented Mason from getting his pistol before repeatedly beating him into submission. Just as Kravchenko finally recognized Mason and acknowledged his mistake for not having killed him in Vorkuta, Woods unexpectedly stabbed him in the lower back with a knife, intending to take both of them with him. Kravchenko pulled a string that pulled loose the pins of multiple grenades attached to his belt. With no other choice, Woods sacrificed himself and tackled Kravchenko out of the window to the floor below. Mason saw the explosion and accepted they were both dead, leaving with information from the office that told him of Steiner's location. In reality, however, Kravchenko's grenade belt became loose during the fall and exploded away from him and Woods. The two were simply rendered unconscious from the fall, but Kravchenko came to first and proceeded to capture and bring Woods to the Hanoi Hilton prison camp in Vietnam before vanishing off the grid for several years. And then we're going to get into his final kind of lifespan in Afghanistan and his involvement with the Russians. Afghanistan and death. While Woods, Mason, Jason Hudson, and Tin Zhao are present in the Mujahideen compound to meet with insurgent leader Mullah Rahman. Sorry if I butchered that name. Kravchenko leads to a Soviet assault on the base and wipes out the fighters in the local area, commanding the battle from within a large tank and favoring the use of brute force to superior numbers to overwhelm his opponents. Kravchenko eventually takes to the front lines when his force begins to lose ground due to the efforts of the CIA operatives. The Mujahideen leads a suicidal barrage on horseback towards the tank, which is decimated by Kravchenko's tank and several other armored vehicles. When Woods saw Mason stunned and unable to walk, he assisted Mason deploy grants Mason time to climb onto the tank with the mortar shell in an effort to destroy it. When Kravchenko sees his old enemy, he exits to meet Mason and punches him as he attempted to throw the mortar shell into the interior of the tank and prepared to engage. In a hand melee combat of the top of the tank, but the Mason was brutally short due to Kravchenko's old age, slowing him down more than he had had in Vietnam 20 years prior, so he's getting old. Mason manages to get stun Kravchenko with several blows to the head and quickly throw the mortar shell inside the tank, causing it to explode from within, and throwing Mason and Kravchenko to the ground. His programming once again returning and demanding he kill Kravchenko. Mason began to strangle the colonel with intent to finish him off before Woods arrived and knocked Kravchenko out with the stock of his AK-47, capturing him for interrogation. During his imprisonment and interrogation by the Mujahideen, Hudson, Woods, and Mason refused to disclose any information regarding his wealthy client, Raul Menendez, after Woods promises him a quick death. Kravchenko eventually concedes by telling him he supplied Menendez with an arsenal of weaponry. Kravchenko then ended with a smug comment suggesting that there may be a potential mole within the CIA, a notion which Hudson thinks is preposterous. The interrogation concludes with Woods executing Kravchenko and the Mujahideen betraying the CIA team as a result of the execution of Lev when Menendez caught wind of Kravchenko's fate. So, yeah, a huge story, and there's a lot more, so if you want to go on the COD Wiki, you'll find it. Great site, as always. But there's a big story about Kravchenko, and, I read most of the important parts, as always, but that's kind of it. You could either shoot him, Woods will even shoot him after you get, because if you play that mission, it's either Mason takes over, his head takes over, and you can shoot him if you don't resist by hitting X, or you can get more info out of him, and then just at the end, Woods will shoot Kravchenko. So either way, he will die. Just depends on how early it is, in the mission. So same outcome, different person shoots him pretty much. I don't really have much to say on Kravchenko. He's a good villain. And he proposed a good villain role in Black Ops 1 and a little bit of Black Ops 2, but I don't really have much to say on him. He's not my top favorite character. I'm not really into it, you know what I mean? If that makes sense, I'm not really into him. Like, he's not my top favorite villain of all time in Black Ops 1 series, but he's a good one. He poses a good threat, like I said, in the first Black Ops and second one a little bit, but that's pretty much it for today's character analysis, so make sure to subscribe for more content, like the video, all the good stuff, Discord, Twitch, Instagram, links in the description, and, yeah, good things coming to the channel, so be sure to look forward to that, so, good things. What do you guys think about Kravchenko? Do you guys think he's a good villain? Or second villain, if that is? Let's discuss that, so let me know in the comments. That's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next video.